Hello, knowledge seekers. In this episode of 20-Minute Books, we explore Widen the Window by Elizabeth A. Stanley. Published in 2019, this insightful book serves as a guide to healing trauma, relieving chronic stress, and embracing a life fully lived in the present moment. Drawing from her extensive background as a U.S. Army veteran and a military leader, coupled with her academic credentials from Harvard, Yale, and MIT, Stanley integrates personal experiences with cutting-edge scientific research. The book delves into the impacts of stress and trauma on both the mind and body, critiques how modern culture often prioritizes work over health, and advocates for mindfulness as a powerful tool to connect our advanced cognitive capacities with our body's primal stress responses. Widen the Window is not only for those who have experienced physical or psychological trauma, but also speaks directly to individuals in high-stress professions such as military personnel and first responders. Additionally, overachievers and workaholics will find valuable insights into balancing their drive for success with their well-being. Elizabeth A. Stanley's contributions to understanding stress and developing the mindfulness-based mind fitness training, a method embraced by both soldiers and civilians to manage stressful situations, highlights the practical applicability of her teachings. This book is an essential read for anyone aiming to navigate the complexities of stress and trauma with grace and resilience. Whether you're looking to improve personal well-being or seeking effective methods to manage professional pressures, Widen the Window offers profound guidance and transformative practices for a healthier, more mindful approach to life. Widen the Window, training your brain and body to thrive during stress and recover from trauma. Introduction. Understanding stress and trauma. More similar than you thought. Imagine your day-to-day stress, the race against the clock to meet a deadline, the last-minute errands, the unexpected car breakdown, as not just simple nuisances, but precursors to something deeper. It's a hard pill to swallow, but science suggests that regular exposure to these minor stresses could gear our bodies and minds toward a state akin to post-traumatic stress disorder. The line between stress and trauma, it turns out, is much finer than what our societal conversations reflect. While we often think of trauma as the long shadow cast by life-altering catastrophes, the reality is that both stress and trauma trigger the same alarming bells in our body's response systems. This revelation pivots our understanding and approaches in managing the mental and physical repercussions that follow. This narrative indulges in the intertwined relationship between our mind and body under stress and trauma, explores our often unintentional reinforcement of these issues, and suggests strategic, mindful exercises to take back control. What's on the agenda? Understanding the conflict between our logical, thinking brain and instinctive survival brain, uncovering an unusual yet effective method involving attention to one's posterior to alleviate stress, and recognizing that not all stress is detrimental, some can actually propel us forward. Part 1. The defense mechanisms of our ancient brain against stress and trauma. It might be surprising to learn that the everyday stresses in your life and traumatic experiences activate a similar defense system within your body. Whether it's receiving an urgent, scolding email from your boss or facing a life-threatening situation, your brain relies on an ancient survival mechanism, responding in ways more similar than one might expect. Here's how it works. Your brain is split into two main parts. The upper layer, or neocortex, is your thinking brain, the part responsible for rational thought, planning, and memory. These functions are within our grasp, under conscious control. Beneath this, however, sits your survival brain, which houses the limbic system, brainstem, and cerebellum. This realm of the brain oversees basic, life-sustaining functions like breathing, sleeping, and eating, primarily automatically, without conscious input. The survival brain's critical role includes orchestrating your response to threats through a process termed neuroception. This process involves your autonomic nervous system, ANS, which dictates your body's stress responses by toggling between the sympathetic nervous system, SNS, activating stress responses, and the parasympathetic nervous system, PSNS, which turns them off. At the front line of your body's defense, when the survival brain detects danger, it first triggers the social engagement system. Consider being in a dark park where a suspicious figure approaches you. Naturally, you'd scan for other people nearby or maybe shout for help. If you find yourself isolated, the next reaction is the fight or flight response, your body's preparation to either confront the danger or escape. Imagine the situation escalates, and your assailant shows a weapon, triggering an intense urge to flee. Finally, if escape seems impossible and you're overpowered, your body may resort to a freeze response as a last line of defense, where you might physically go limp and mentally shut down. This response is particularly linked to trauma, as it represents a peak moment of helplessness with profound long-term effects on the mind and body, leaving stress and trauma indelibly linked as part of a shared spectrum governed by our ancient brain's imperative to protect us. Part 2. How unresolved stress and trauma lead to bodily and mental dysregulation. When faced with danger, our bodies naturally launch into action, heart racing, digestion pausing, breath quickening, all aimed at survival. But what happens after the danger passes? Ideally, our systems should revert to normal through a recovery process. However, without proper recovery, our bodies can't reset, leading to long-term dysregulation. Managed by our survival brain, recovery involves a complex process known as allostasis. This is where the body attempts to return to a baseline state, rebalancing hormones, immune function, and nervous system activity. Crucial to recovery is the perception of safety. Without it, the survival brain keeps the body in a constant state of alarm. Chronic stress or unresolved trauma hampers this because they leave the survival brain feeling permanently threatened. The result? An incessant state of stress arousal, known as allostatic load, where the body prioritizes immediate survival over long-term health. This continuous stress response churns out short-term hormones like cortisol, while neglecting the production of essential long-term hormones, impacting overall health. Dysregulation isn't solely confined to reactions from severe trauma, but can also stem from persistent minor stresses. Being overworked, constantly worried, or chronically sleep-deprived. These sustained stressors tell the survival brain it's always go time, never allowing the system to acknowledge safety and recover. It's interesting to note that the survival brain does not differentiate between a physical threat and psychological or symbolic threats, like ongoing worries or fears. This means continuous negative thoughts can disrupt your body's systems as powerfully as a physical traumatic event. Given that the survival brain operates largely outside our conscious control, we can't simply think our way out of stress. This disconnection between our thinking brain, which might assess everything as fine, and our survival brain, constantly sensing danger, underscores the complexity of stress management. To combat this, fostering recovery is essential. Engaging in activities that signal to our survival brain that it is safe to relax and recover is key in preventing the cascade of negative effects associated with dysregulation. This approach prioritizes restoring balance and ensuring long-term resilience against both minor and major stresses. Part 3. The impact of dysregulation on health and decision-making. Consider this scenario. You're on the brink of completing an urgent project. For days, you're clocking 16-hour shifts, sacrificing sleep while maintaining a rigorous gym routine and eating cleanly. Once the project is done, however, your energy collapses. The weekend morphs into a marathon of TV binge-watching and snack indulging. Does this sound familiar? This pattern is a classic manifestation of dysregulation, where your mental and physical systems flip between extremes, being stuck on high, where you're running on all cylinders, to being stuck on low, where you're utterly depleted. These extremes often correlate with which part of your brain dominates at the time. On one end, there's the thinking brain override, a mode where your cognitive side pushes you to ignore or downplay the signs of mental and physical strain. This mode is fueled by a societal glorification of overwork, evident in scenarios like workers feeling guilty for taking deserved breaks or attending work while ill. On the flip side, when your resources dwindle, you experience something known as survival brain hijacking. Here, emotional and instinctual responses take the reins, attempting to manage and expel the accumulated stress. This cyclical switch from extreme exertion to complete burnout isn't just an unhealthy habit, it's a pattern that substantially deteriorates one's mental and physical health. Conditions such as depression, anxiety, PTSD, sleep disorders, diabetes, and even substance abuse are tightly linked to chronic stress. The toll on health is paralleled by a degradation in cognitive functions. Prolonged stress impairs memory, analytic capabilities, and even moral reasoning. The dual mode of dysregulation, swinging from overactive to completely passive, illustrates not just a personal struggle, but a broader cultural issue that demands a reevaluation of how we handle stress and prioritize recovery. Recognizing and addressing these patterns is essential to restore balance and safeguard our long-term health and cognitive integrity. Part 4. How chronic stress and trauma constrict your stress management capabilities. It's tempting to dream of a life entirely devoid of stress, particularly after considering its potentially debilitating effects. However, stress isn't an inherent enemy. In moderate doses, it's actually beneficial, enhancing both mental and physical capabilities. This concept is encapsulated by the Yerkes-Dodson curve, an inverted U-shaped diagram that reveals how our performance peaks under moderate levels of stress, known as eustress, but dips when stress is too low or excessively high. This curve asserts that stress, in the right amount, can be a powerful motivator and performance enhancer. Think of your capacity to handle stress as a sort of window. The dimensions of this window reflect how much stress you can effectively manage without compromising your performance. Within this window, your thinking and survival brains operate in synergy. The survival brain triggers the stress response, and the thinking brain strategizes a response and aids recovery afterward. However, when recovery from stress is disrupted by ongoing stress or unresolved trauma, this window shrinks. Subsequently, even minor stressors, like a morning coffee spill, might catapult you into a state of disproportionate anxiety or frustration. Once you're pushed outside of your stress tolerance window, making sound, healthy decisions becomes a challenge. It's more likely you'll resort to negative coping mechanisms such as excessive drinking, overeating, or binge-watching television, which may provide temporary relief but ultimately compound your stress and narrow your window further. Many people operate outside of their optimal stress window continuously, keeping their bodies and minds in a perpetual state of alert. This not only degrades mental and physical health but also impairs job performance and increases susceptibility to impulsive decision-making. Knowing the factors that widen or narrow your window is crucial to breaking this cycle, stepping back into your window, and restoring both balance and well-being. Part 5. Exploring the origins of your stress tolerance window. The breadth of your capacity to manage stress, commonly visualized as a functional window, is not arbitrarily set. It's shaped by a blend of biological, environmental, and experiential factors. Starting with biology, our genetic makeup plays a foundational role in determining how we respond to stress. Intriguingly, research suggests that trauma can be genetically inherited. One notable study observed male mice subjected to trauma and tracked its effects across generations. Remarkably, signs of dysregulation persisted even into the third generation, suggesting trauma can be embedded and passed down in our DNA. Yet genetics only lay the groundwork. The expression of these genes is heavily influenced by environmental conditions. Crucial among these are the experiences we encounter during early childhood. This formative period is when we first learn to activate our stress response systems, largely guided by interactions with caregivers. For instance, infants cared for by a depressed mother may develop a hypersensitivity to stress due to early dysregulation in their stress hormone systems. Subsequent childhood traumas, whether physical abuse, emotional neglect, or living with caregivers struggling with mental illness or substance abuse, further impact this developmental window. Early stress often leads to a physiological restructuring, an enlarged amygdala, which heightens stress perception, alongside a reduced prefrontal cortex, impairing decision making and impulse control. Such alterations make children more susceptible to stress and trauma later in life, sometimes causing them to seem like trauma magnets. This interplay of genetic and environmental factors continues into adulthood, where other traumas, defined not by their nature but by the experience of overwhelming stress coupled with helplessness, can further constrict this window. While we cannot alter our genetic blueprints or childhood experiences, understanding them can empower us to accept our stress tolerance window as it presently is. This acceptance is a critical first step toward effectively widening that window and enhancing our capacity to handle stress more resiliently. Part 6. Expanding your capacity to manage stress through understanding and attention. Becoming aware of how stress and trauma shape your reactions and behaviors is crucial to broadening your ability to handle stress effectively. A practical first step towards this is understanding the unique way you react to stresses and trauma. Journaling is an excellent tool for achieving deeper self-awareness. Begin by cataloging the significant traumas you've encountered throughout your life. These could range from enduring an alcoholic parent during childhood, surviving a car accident, to seemingly minor incidents like dental surgery. Each bears its own weight. Following this, identify the ongoing stressors in your current life, such as work pressures, financial strains, or family conflicts. It's also insightful to list down the coping mechanisms you resort to for managing stress, perhaps smoking, binge eating, or compulsive exercising. Compiling these lists promotes a comprehensive understanding of the traumas that have shaped you, the stress you regularly face, and the tactics you employ to cope. Understanding these patterns is the first critical stride towards regulating your reactions and responses. The next phase involves supporting your survival brain's recovery process with the help of your thinking brain. While the thinking brain cannot directly switch off stress responses, it can effectively direct attention in ways that signal safety to the survival brain, thus initiating recovery. Regular cycles of managed stress arousal, followed by recovery, can gradually expand your capacity to handle stress, effectively widening your window. A vital technique in this training is mindfulness, which relies on focused attention and open monitoring. Focused attention involves deliberately holding your mental focus on a particular object, sensation, or thought, maintaining that concentration steadfastly. When distractions occur, the practice involves gently steering your attention back without judgment. Open monitoring, on the other hand, involves passively observing the happenings within and around you without attachment, maintaining a stance of neutral curiosity. Engaging in mindfulness not only helps in managing stress, but also plays a fundamental role in making the survival brain perceive safety and facilitating a healing process from accumulated stresses and traumas. This approach forms the cornerstone of more advanced stress management techniques, paving the way for a healthier, more resilient mind and body. Part 7. Mastering stress recovery with 2 fundamental MMFT exercises. MMFT, which stands for Mindfulness-Based Mind Fitness Training, is a groundbreaking approach tailored primarily for soldiers to effectively brace for, navigate through, and recuperate from stress and trauma. But anyone committed to healing stress and broadening their capability to manage it can benefit from MMFT. This process isn't an instantaneous solution. It demands consistent effort and dedication. Fortunately, beginning this journey requires mastering just 2 core exercises. The first exercise is the contact points exercise. Begin by sitting in a quiet spot, ideally with your back against a wall and feet planted firmly on the ground. Once seated, close your eyes and pay attention to how the chair supports you, particularly focusing on where your butt and feet make contact with the chair and floor respectively. Hold your awareness on these points of contact. Should your mind drift, and it likely will, gently realign your focus back to these contact points. Regular practice of this exercise, ranging from 5 to 20 minutes daily, helps reinforce mindfulness and presence. Once you're comfortable with maintaining focus during the contact points exercise, you can progress to the ground and release exercise. This exercise is pivotal for helping the survival brain recognize safety signals and start the recovery process after stressful events. Ideal times to engage in this exercise are after experiencing stress triggers, such as an argument or an intense meeting. For the ground and release exercise, find a tranquil and secure environment. You can sit or lie down, whichever feels most comfortable. Close your eyes and tune into any immediate physiological signs of stress, perhaps a rapid heartbeat or swirling thoughts. Acknowledge these signs by quietly noting, "I'm activated." Next, redirect your focus back to your contact points, feeling the stability and grounding they provide. If your mind reverts to the stress indicators, gently bring it back to the contact points. In time, you may begin to perceive physical signs of stress release, such as tingling sensations, warmth, slower breathing, or even spontaneous laughter or tears. Welcome these as they are strong indicators of effective stress discharge. While these exercises might seem simple, they require a disciplined approach to become truly effective. By consistently practicing these techniques, you gradually train your mind and body to achieve full recovery from stress, paving the way towards significantly widening your stress response window. Part 8. Integrating MMFT and healthy habits to manage stress and heal dysregulation. MMFT, or mindfulness-based mind fitness training, extends far beyond mere stress management. It can considerably aid in managing intense emotions and chronic pain. Modifications of basic MMFT exercises, like the ground and release, can become crucial tools in handling these complex challenges. For instance, when overwhelmed by powerful emotions, you can apply the ground and release exercise. Start by fully acknowledging your emotions and thoughts, allowing them to envelop you momentarily. Subsequently, shift your focus to ground yourself through your established contact points. This technique can bring immediate relief and foster emotional endurance. Chronic pain, affecting countless individuals, can also be mitigated through MMFT. The protocol begins similarly with the contact points exercise. Once grounded, gently shift your focus to the peripheries of your pain, maintaining contact without judgment or internal commentary. If the pain peaks uncomfortably, refocus on your contact points. Gradually, this practice can retrain your survival brain to interpret the pain signals as non-threatening, potentially reducing the pain experienced over time. However, the efficacy of MMFT can be significantly enhanced when combined with healthy lifestyle habits. Unfortunately, periods of dysregulation often coincide with the adoption of detrimental habits like substance abuse or emotional eating, which inversely extend the cycle of stress and trauma. Creating healthier habits isn't a one-size-fits-all remedy, but requires personalized reflection and awareness. Begin by identifying your current unhelpful coping mechanisms and the comfort they provide. Incrementally replace these with slightly healthier alternatives that fulfill the same needs. For example, rather than satisfying social needs through passive TV watching, actively engage with friends and family. Moreover, adhering to the Big Four, maintaining an active social life, ensuring adequate sleep, consuming a balanced diet, and engaging in regular physical activity can fundamentally lower stress levels. Supplementing these with journaling and mindfulness exercises can not only help pinpoint life aspects that may be contributing negatively to your well-being, but also help strategize effective improvements. In essence, integrating MMFT with healthy habits offers a dual approach. It helps mitigate immediate stress and emotional or pain responses, while building a long-term foundation for resilience and recovery. Final summary: stress arousal originates from your survival brain, serving as a crucial mechanism to address immediate threats. This natural response equips you to handle danger by heightening alertness and bodily functions. Subsequently, recovery should follow, allowing your body to return to normalcy. However, ongoing stress and trauma often disrupt this cycle, as they hinder your survival brain from signaling that it's safe to relax and recuperate. This continuous state of alert can lead to dysregulation, which compromises your health, undermines your performance, and skews decision-making processes. To combat this, integrating mindfulness practices and cultivating healthier lifestyle choices are effective strategies. These practices not only assist in decreasing overall stress levels, but also support the recovery processes of your survival brain. Over time, these efforts can expand your capacity to manage stress, effectively widening the window within which you can operate at your best. Thank you for joining me today on this journey of learning and discovery as we explored the insights of another thought-provoking book in our growing library of knowledge. If you've enjoyed our time together, please take a moment to follow our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and share 20-minute books with other knowledge seekers. Your support truly means a lot. Don't forget to join me again in the next episode, where we will delve into another enriching book. Until then, happy reading and happy listening.